organization. I think it starts with alignment, especially in professional sports where there's a ton of moving parts. So it was great alignment from ownership to the front office, to the coaches, to the players, to the staff, the employees, and I think there's a common mindset and a common approach to the process of kind of how to make it work. I think that's the biggest thing. And then you take a look at the basketball aspect of it, like you said. You got to have a certain type of you got to have the players, and not just the talent but the character. And I think that's something that Brad does a great job of doing in the front office, is just finding guys with a high competitive character. And then you got to put a staff in place. You get a bunch of guys that can kind of take that competitive character and then try to just come up with a process to winning. So it takes a lot of people to do it, and there's a lot of great people in the Celtic organization.
Joe, Neemias has been, I think, top 2 in the league right now in net rating and defensive rating. Do you look into stats like that, and do you feel like it's kind of indicative of you guys being a more dominant team when he's been on the floor so far this season?
Yeah, you take a look at him with a grain of salt, like the stats. But at the end of the day, it's more about the work that Neemias put in and how he's gotten better. Not only from the time that he's been here in his career, but also I think he's gotten better from training camp to preseason to where we're at right now. And we are a better team when he's on the floor, and he understands that responsibility, but also the execution of that. So he's the guy that just keeps getting better and better. So you don't need stats to see that part of it, because how good he's been for us. He's got to continue to get better.
Joe, what has stood out to you about the Magic from the tape you've watched through the first 8 games of the season? Small sample set, but what have you noticed?
Yeah, obviously the DNA of their team always starts with their defense and their physicality, and then, on the offensive end, their layup frequency is there just because of their, their offensive rebound and their top and crashes per shot, and they get their layups from transition, offensive rebound. They do a good job getting to the free throw line. Those two guys can just draw contact and draw help and get guys off your body. So they're just a team that keeps getting better and better, and they're well coached.
And coach, to that point, you have to game plan for Desmond Bane now. How difficult is he to control on the perimeter, especially when he can knock down those shots consistently?
Yeah, like you said, they do a good job of changing up their pick and roll frequency of handlers, setters. They have a bunch of guys that can do both. They can handle, they can set, and they can get, they can slip out, they get hit under. So, he adds another layer to their pick and roll offense because of their ability to interchange handlers and screeners, and so they do a great job of taking advantage of that. So. Just have to be able to execute our coverages very well and guard them with all 5 guys.
Joe, a couple weeks ago I asked Jalen about the fact that you guys have larger rotations now. If that's changed anything in the locker room, if it's different to know the guys actually have like a real chance of impacting winning every single night on the court. Do you feel like as a coach it's been more fun or more stressful, like just knowing that you're not going to have maybe the same 8 guys playing, but that literally anybody could at any given moment give you 20 minutes?
No, I think that's, I can't speak for the players because they're in a different situation because they're the ones that have to, potentially execute at that particular time. But at the end of the day, I think it gives us if you're looking at the process of how to maximize the roster and the opportunity that we have, that's one of the things that gives us the best chance. I think the way really playing in the league has gotten to with the pickup points and the physicality and the speed on the offensive end. You can't play longer stints if you want to get the best out of each guy. So to me, it gives us the best chance to execute the process of our system and a chance to win every night. But I would probably have a different answer for some of the guys, but I appreciate their buy-in and their willingness to be able to do it because I think they've seen that it can help us, over the course of an entire game. And as the season goes on, trying to play the way that we need to play, we're going to need everyone to be able to do that.
Joe, last spring when you played them, physicality was like the buzzword of that series from players and coaches. Was there anything you extracted kind of from it when you look back and you are kind of adjusting the way you're playing a little bit this year?
To the series?
Yeah, like
it's just the DNA of their team. Like I don't think much has changed with the way they go about business.
I mean, like for you guys, like when you're preparing for this season for your team, is there anything you took from that series and while you're adjusting the way you're playing?
Well, I think it was Orlando's one of the teams where they were high in turnover rate but high in foul rate. So they were one of the teams that we looked at the correlation between. Is there a correlation to fouling and having the ability to create more turnovers over the course of an entire season. So they're a team that does foul, but they're a team that generated turnovers. They did a great job of that last year, and so that was obviously something that we looked at because I thought they were one of the better teams in the league at that.
Coach, relatively small sample size, but Peyton looks a little bit more comfortable last 4 or 5 games than he did earlier in the season. What's kind of the difference for him in starting versus coming off the bench, and just for any player in general? And what do you kind of want to see him work on as he continues to be a starter in this league?
I mean, he works on everything. So at the end of the day, it's just not being defined by one thing. If you take a look at that series last year, his ball pressure was tremendous for us. So he doesn't need to do anything different than he's done in his career. I mean, he's had games this year where he's had 11 assists. He's had games where he's had 10 rebounds. He's had games where he's had, the shooting that we're all used to seeing. So that's just what he's capable of giving us is just well-rounded basketball on both ends of the floor. And he takes that role serious. So he's just got to continue to do his best he can every night.
Joe, in your view, what are the biggest strengths of that starting unit that you've kind of settled on lately with Josh in there? What are the biggest strengths of that group?
I think our ability to defend. Josh's ability to defend, Neemias' ability to defend. It gives Jalen, Peyton, and Derek the ability to obviously they're going to compete and defend, but ability to kind of get out and run and play on the offensive end. So just continue to chip away at the identity that we need to have.
Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate it, Coach.